Rachel, my daughter, the person I trusted more than anyone in this world. I remember the exact moment everything changed. It wasn't when I found out about the money. It wasn't even when she broke my arm. It was 3 months earlier, on Thanksgiving, when she said those 5 words that should have been my warning. Mum, let me help you. I'm Margaret, 67 years old, retired accountant, widow for 5 years. I spent my entire career managing other people's finances, balancing books down to the penny, catching errors that everyone else missed. The irony isn't lost on me now. My house in Portland sits on a quiet street lined with maple trees. Victorian style, 3 bedrooms, the kind of place my parents bought in 1972 when this neighborhood was affordable. They left it to me. Every creaky floorboard, every stained glass window, every memory lives in those walls. I raised Rachel there, watched her learn to walk in that hallway, celebrated every birthday in that kitchen. After Tom died, the house felt too big, but it was mine. Paid off, safe, and I had his life insurance. $180,000 sitting in my savings account. My security, my future, my peace of mind. Rachel knew about the money. Of course she did. She'd been there when I deposited the check, crying in the bank parking lot, because having that money meant Tom was really gone. That Thanksgiving, she showed up at my door with Mark, her husband of 3 years. They were carrying suitcases. Mom, we need to talk, Rachel said, not quite meeting my eyes. Our landlord sold the building. We have to be out by next week. Can we stay here? Just temporarily. Until we find a place. What was I supposed to say? This was my daughter, my only child. They moved into the guest room that afternoon. Rachel said it would be 2 weeks, maybe 3. Mark was between jobs, she explained. His startup hadn't worked out. Her real estate commissions were slow this quarter. Portland's market was tough. They just needed time to get back on their feet. I wanted to help. That's what mothers do. 2 weeks became a month. A month became 2. Every time I gently asked about their apartment search, Rachel had a reason. The listings were all too expensive. They needed to save for a deposit. Mark had an interview next week that could change everything. Just a little longer, Mom. Please. I stopped asking. December came. Then, January. The house didn't feel too big anymore. It felt crowded. Mark would be on the couch watching TV when I came downstairs for breakfast. Rachel would use my computer, saying hers was broken. Their dishes piled up in the sink. Their mail scattered across my dining room table. But they were family. You make sacrifices for family. It was Rachel who first mentioned my finances. Late January, after dinner. She was loading the dishwasher while I wiped down the counters. Mom, I've been thinking. You're getting older. 67 is, the age where things start to slip. I read this article about seniors and financial management. She paused, rinsing a plate. What have I helped you? With your bills and accounts? I'm in real estate, I understand money. It would take the stress off you. Something in my chest tightened. Rachel, I was an accountant for 40 years. I think I can manage my own checkbook. I know. But that was years ago, Mom. Things are different now. Everything's online. It's confusing. I just want to make sure you're protected. The way she said it. Like I was already incompetent, already forgetting things, already failing. I'm fine, I said, more sharply than I intended. She smiled, squeezed my shoulder. Of course you are. I'm just saying, if you ever need help, I'm here. I should have listened to that tightness in my chest. 2 weeks later, I went to church on Sunday morning. Linda, my friend from the choir, pulled me aside after the service. Margaret, is everything okay? I've been calling. You haven't returned my messages. I blinked. What messages? I've left 3 voicemails this month, and you missed book club twice. That's not like you. I checked my phone that night. No missed calls from Linda. No voicemails. But when I went to my call log, I saw something strange. 3 calls from Linda's number in January, marked as declined. I never declined those calls. I hadn't even heard my phone ring. The next morning, while Rachel was out, I checked my phone settings. Someone had changed my notification preferences. Certain contacts were set to silent. Linda. My neighbor Barbara, my cousin Diane, people who knew me well. People who would notice if something was wrong. I changed everything back. Didn't mention it to Rachel. But I started paying attention. That's when I noticed the documents. They'd appear on the dining room table, mixed in with junk mail, official-looking papers from banks I didn't recognize, credit card offers already opened. Once, I found a refinancing packet from a mortgage company with my name on it. When I asked Rachel about it, she laughed it off. "Oh, I accidentally opened your mail. Sorry, Mom, it's just spam anyway. I threw it out." But I'd seen my name, my address, my signature on some of the pages, except I hadn't signed anything. February 14th. My birthday and 5 years since Tom died. The mailbox had a single envelope. Not a card. A letter from the IRS. My hands shook as I opened it. The letter referenced unreported income on my tax return. Income I never claimed because I never earned it. Someone had opened credit cards in my name. Multiple cards. Used my social security number. Created accounts I knew nothing about. I sat down hard on the porch steps. The February cold bit through my sweater, but I barely felt it. Linda found me there 20 minutes later, walking her dog past my house. "Margaret? Honey, what's wrong?" I showed her the letter, watched her face change as she read it. "You need to check your credit report," she said. "Right now. And Margaret," she glanced at my front door. "Don't tell Rachel until you know what's going on." That afternoon, while Rachel and Mark were out, I pulled my credit report. I had to sit down again. Had to read it 3 times because surely this was a mistake. 8 credit cards I never opened. Total balance, $42,000. A personal loan for $15,000. A home equity line of credit against my house for $70,000. All opened in the last 4 months. All in my name. All with my supposedly perfect signature. And withdrawals from my savings account. $3,000 here, $5,000 there. Always just under the threshold that would trigger a fraud alert. Always marked as account holder authorized transfer, except I never authorized anything. Total, $127,000, gone. My life savings, Tom's life insurance, everything we'd worked for, everything I needed to survive. Gone. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The room spun. Linda came back that evening with her nephew, a private investigator named Marcus. I gave him access to everything. Bank statements, credit reports, the mortgage documents. He photographed it all, made copies, took notes in a leather notebook that looked like it had seen harder cases than mine. "Mrs. Chen," he said, and I noticed he used Tom's last name, the one I'd kept. "I need to ask you something difficult. Who has access to your mail? Your computer? Your personal documents?" I looked at the ceiling. At the water stain Tom had always meant to fix. At anywhere except Linda's sympathetic face. "My daughter lives here," I whispered. "She and her husband, since November." Marcus nodded. Didn't look surprised. "I'll need a few days to trace the accounts, see where the money went." "But Mrs. Chen? You need to understand something. This kind of systematic theft, this level of access, this careful avoiding of fraud triggers." He closed his notebook. "This is someone who knows what they're doing. Someone who understands your finances. Someone you trusted." I wanted to argue, to say it couldn't be Rachel, not my daughter, not the baby I rocked to sleep, not the girl who used to make me dandelion bouquets. But I remembered the phone settings, the opened mail, the way Rachel had pushed me to give her access to my accounts, the way she'd called me old, confused, slipping. I knew. God help me, I already knew. Marcus worked fast. 3 days later, he had proof. Bank surveillance footage of Rachel using my debit card at ATMs across Portland. Screenshots of her accessing my online banking from her laptop. Copies of loan applications with my forged signature. Paper trails leading to her and Mark's personal accounts. She'd been careful, almost careful enough, but she'd made one mistake. She'd used their home computer, the one they left on my dining room table. Marcus had examined it while they were out. Found everything. "What do I do?" I asked Linda. We were sitting in her kitchen, papers spread across her table, evidence of my daughter's betrayal in black and white. "You call the police," Linda said. "Margaret, this is identity theft, elder abuse, fraud. These are felonies. She's my daughter. She stole your life savings. She forged your signature. She tried to steal your house." Linda's voice cracked. "Margaret, what happens when the money runs out? You think she'll stop? You think she'll take care of you?" I knew the answer. I'd seen the credit card statements Marcus found, shopping sprees at Nordstrom, dinners at expensive restaurants, a $6,500 purse, all purchased while my daughter told me how broke they were, how hard times were, how they just needed a little more time. But I wasn't ready to make that call. Not yet. I needed to confront her first. Needed to hear her say it. Needed to give her one chance to explain, to apologize, to make it right. One chance, that's all. One chance to be the daughter I raised. I decided to host a St. Patrick's Day dinner, March 17th. I'd invite Rachel and Mark, cook a nice meal. Then, after dinner, I'd show them what I knew, give them the opportunity to confess, to return the money, to face consequences with dignity. Linda thought I was insane. Marcus thought I was in denial, but it was my choice, my daughter, my pain to bear. I spent the morning cooking. Corned beef and cabbage, Tom's favourite. Irish soda bread from scratch. Boxed brownies because Rachel loved them as a child. I set the table with my good china, put out fresh flowers, made everything perfect. They arrived at 6. Rachel kissed my cheek. Mark shook my hand. We ate dinner, making small talk. Rachel complimented the food. Mark talked about a job interview he had next week. Everything felt surreal, normal on the surface, rotting underneath. After dinner, after the dishes were cleared, I asked them to stay at the table. I need to talk to you both about something important. Rachel glanced at Mark. Something passed between them, a look I couldn't read. I put the folder on the table. Marcus had organized everything. Bank statements on top. Credit reports underneath. Security footage stills. Loan applications with forged signatures. I know what you've been doing, I said. My voice didn't shake. Years of board meetings, of delivering bad news to clients, of staying composed under pressure. I know about the credit cards, the loans, the money you've taken from my accounts. All of it. I have proof. Silence. Long enough that I could hear the kitchen clock ticking, the neighbor's dog barking outside, my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then Rachel laughed. Actually laughed. Mom, what are you talking about? Don't. I opened the folder. Pushed the top paper toward her. This is your signature on a credit card application. My name, my social security number. Your signature, from January 12th. She barely glanced at it. Mom, you're confused. You helped me apply for a card. Remember? You said I could use your credit history because mine wasn't great. You told me to sign your name. I did no such thing. You did, and then you forgot. She looked at Mark. Honey, remember. I told you she was getting forgetful, repeating herself, losing things. This was it. This was the gaslighting Marcus had warned me about. The way she'd twist the narrative, make me doubt my own memory, my own sanity. I have surveillance footage of you at the ATM, I said. Using my card. Withdrawing $3,000 on February 2nd, then $5,000 on February 15th. I never gave you my card. You did give me your card. You asked me to withdraw money for you because you didn't want to go out in the cold. Rachel's voice was patient. Pitying. The voice you use with someone senile. Mom, I'm worried about you. These accusations, this paranoia, maybe we should talk to your doctor. I've talked to a lawyer instead. Not true yet, but it would be. And a private investigator. I have proof of everything. The question is, are you going to come clean now, or are you going to make this worse? Rachel's expression changed. The patient-daughter act dropped. What replaced it was cold. Hard. A stranger's face, wearing my daughter's features. You want to know what's really going on, Mum? You're a lonely, bitter old woman who can't handle that your daughter has a life. You're so desperate for attention that you're making up stories, creating drama, probably because you miss Dad and you need someone to blame for how empty your life is. The words hit like slaps, each one carefully chosen, designed to hurt. That's not true, and you know it. Do I? Rachel stood. You know what I think? I think you're experiencing early dementia. I think you've been acting erratically for months. I think you need help. The only thing I need is for you to return my money and get out of my house. Mark stood too. He'd been quiet this whole time, letting Rachel lead. Now he moved closer to me. Too close. standing over me where I sat. "You need to be very careful about what you say next," he said. His voice was quiet, threatening. "Making false accusations against us could be considered elder abuse, defamation. We could sue you. Take this house. You understand?" I stood, tried to step back, but the table was behind me, Mark in front, Rachel to my side, trapped in my own kitchen. "Get away from me," I said. "Both of you. Pack your things and leave, tonight." "We're not going anywhere," Rachel said. "This is our home too. You invited us. You can't just throw us out." "I can and I am. This is my house, and I'm calling the police." I reached for my phone on the counter. Mark grabbed my wrist, twisted it. Pain shot up my arm. "Let go of me." "Not until you calm down and listen to reason," Mark said. I tried to pull away. He twisted harder. I heard a crack, felt something give way in my wrist. The pain was blinding, white hot. I screamed. Rachel grabbed my other arm. Between them, they forced me down into the chair. My broken wrist was on fire. I could feel the bone grinding. I could feel myself starting to hyperventilate. "You're going to tell people you fell," Rachel said. She was leaning over me, her face inches from mine. "You're going to say you got confused, got dizzy, fell and hurt yourself. That's the story. Because if you try to blame us, if you tell anyone we did this, I'll have you declared incompetent. I'll get power of attorney. I'll put you in a home, and you'll never see this house or your money again. Do you understand?" I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe through the pain. I just stared at her. At this stranger with my daughter's eyes. Mark pulled out his phone. "I'm calling 911. Emergency services, yes. My mother-in-law fell. I think she broke her wrist. She seems confused, disoriented." "Yes, we've been worried about her memory lately. Please hurry." That's when I understood. They'd planned this. The manipulation. The gaslighting. The story about my confusion and memory problems. It was all setting the stage, creating a narrative where I was the unreliable one, the confused elderly woman, the one who couldn't be trusted. And in that moment, with my wrist broken and my daughter standing over me with cold eyes, I made a decision. I would survive this. I would fight. I would make sure they faced every consequence. I would not let them win. The paramedics came. Mark played the worried son-in-law perfectly. Told them I'd been acting strangely. Forgetting things. That I'd gotten dizzy and fallen. Rachel held my good hand, tears on her face, asking if I was okay. Oscar-worthy performances, both of them. But when the female paramedic leaned over me, checking my vitals, I whispered, "They did this. They broke my wrist. Please help me." She went still, looked at my wrist more carefully, looked at my face, at the finger-shaped bruises already forming on my other arm where Rachel had grabbed me. "Ma'am, did someone hurt you?" she asked, quiet enough that only I could hear. I nodded. "My daughter and her husband. They've been stealing from me. When I confronted them, they attacked me." She stood, spoke to her partner. He left the room, came back 2 minutes later with 2 police officers. Everything happened fast after that. The officers separated us, took statements, examined my injuries. One officer, a woman named Detective Morrison, asked me detailed questions, while the other one kept Rachel and Mark in the living room. I told her everything. About the theft, the private investigator, the evidence, the confrontation, the threats, the broken wrist. "I have proof," I said. "In that folder on the table. My investigator documented everything. Please, you have to look at it." Detective Morrison looked through the folder. Her expression grew darker with each page. "Mrs. Chen, we're going to take you to the hospital to get your wrist treated. And we're going to need you to make a formal statement. But I want you to know something." She crouched beside my chair so we were eye level. "What they did to you is serious. Identity theft, financial exploitation of an elderly person, assault. These are felonies. We're going to arrest them tonight." I watched through my kitchen window as they handcuffed Rachel and Mark, saw my daughter's face twist with rage as they read her rights, heard her screaming that I was lying, that I was confused, that this was all a misunderstanding. The female paramedics stayed with me, held my good hand while they took my daughter away. At the hospital they set my wrist. Compound fracture, they said. Would need surgery. would need months of physical therapy, might never heal completely. I'd carry this scar forever, this reminder of what my daughter did. Linda arrived at the hospital at midnight. Marcus came an hour later with more evidence he'd gathered. A forensic accountant he'd hired who'd traced every stolen dollar, credit card statements, wire transfers, a trail of financial destruction leading straight to Rachel and Mark's accounts. They spent $93,000, Marcus said. The rest they moved into offshore accounts. We can trace it, but getting it back will take time. My house, my security, my future. $93,000 spent on designer clothes and fancy dinners and whatever else they'd wanted. $34,000 hidden away somewhere, like I didn't matter. Like my well-being didn't matter. Like I was just a resource to be exploited. The preliminary hearing was 3 weeks later. My wrist was still in a cast. Rachel and Mark sat across the courtroom, both dressed conservatively, both looking like the victims. Their lawyer argued it was all a misunderstanding, that I'd given them permission, that my memory was failing, that the injury was an accident. But then the prosecutor presented Marcus's evidence, the surveillance footage, the forged signatures, the electronic trail, the medical report showing my injuries were consistent with assault, not a fall, the recording of Mark's 911 call that contradicted their later statements. The judge set bail at $50,000 each. They couldn't make it. Stayed in jail until trial. The trial itself took 4 days. I testified for 6 hours over 2 days. Told everything. Showed my wrist. Still healing wrong, despite surgery. Read the credit card statements into the record. Watch the security footage on the courtroom screen. Saw myself through the eyes of strangers. An elderly woman betrayed by the person she loved most. Rachel never showed remorse. She maintained, even under cross-examination, that I was confused. That I'd authorized everything. That I was a bitter old woman making up stories for attention. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all charges. Both of them. Identity theft. Fraud. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Assault in the second degree. Conspiracy. Rachel got 8 years. Mark got 6. Their lawyer filed an appeal, but it was denied. I had to sell my house, the one my parents bought, the one where I raised Rachel, the one filled with Tom's memory. Had to sell it to pay off the debts they'd created in my name, the credit cards, the loans, the refinanced mortgage I hadn't known existed. I moved into a senior community, 2 bedrooms, small kitchen, monthly fees that ate into my remaining savings. Not the retirement I'd planned, not the security I'd earned, but I was alive. I was free. I was surrounded by people who understood. Because at my new community, I met 5 other women who'd experienced financial abuse from family members, children who'd stolen, spouses who'd hidden debts, siblings who'd forged documents. We started a support group. Every Thursday evening, 8 of us meet in the community room. We share our stories, warn each other about red flags, process our grief. Because it is grief, losing trust in your own family, losing the life you built, losing your sense of safety in the world. I speak at senior centers now, at community organizations, libraries, anywhere that will have me. I tell my story. I teach people about financial abuse, about the warning signs, about protecting yourself even from the people you love, especially from the people you love. Never give anyone complete access to your finances, I tell them. Not your children. Not your spouse. Not anyone. Check your credit report every 3 months. Monitor your accounts. If someone pressures you to sign documents quickly, don't. If someone tells you you're too old to manage your own money, that's a red flag. If someone isolates you from friends and family, that's a red flag. If someone makes you doubt your own memory, that's a red flag. I tell them about Rachel, about how she used my love against me, how she exploited my trust, how she almost destroyed me. And I tell them about survival, about how you rebuild, how you find purpose, how you take your pain and turn it into something that helps others. Rachel wrote me letters from prison. 12 of them. All variations on the same theme. She's sorry. She made a mistake. She needs my help. She needs money for her commissary account. She needs money for her legal fees. She needs me to write to the parole board. She needs Needs. I haven't opened the last 8 letters. They sit in a box in my closet, unopened, unread. Maybe someday I'll read them. Maybe someday I'll forgive her. But not today. Not yet. Possibly not ever. Because I learned something through all of this. Love without respect is abuse. Family doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away. I'm 70 now. 3 years since that St. Patrick's Day. My wrist still aches when it rains. I'll never get back the money they stole. I'll never live in my parents' house again. Some things can't be fixed, can't be recovered, can't be undone. But I'm okay. More than okay, really. I have Linda, who's been my anchor through everything. I have my support group, my Thursday evening family, who understands in ways blood relatives never did. I have my speaking engagements, my purpose, my way of turning pain into protection for others. And I have myself, my strength, my resilience, my refusal to let what they did define me. Rachel gets out in 5 years. 4 with good behavior. I don't know what I'll do if she contacts me, if she shows up at my door, if she asks for another chance. But I know one thing. I'm not the same woman she broke 3 years ago. I'm not the mother who would sacrifice everything for her child. I'm not the victim who stayed silent. I'm a survivor, an advocate, a woman who learned the hardest way possible that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you most are the ones who hurt you worst. And that's not your fault. It was never your fault. If you're reading this, if you're living this, please know, you deserve better. You deserve respect. You deserve safety, even from family, especially from family. Don't wait like I did. Don't give them a chance to hurt you more. Protect yourself. Get help. Tell someone. Report them. Save yourself, because in the end, the only person you can truly count on is yourself. And that has to be enough. It is enough. I am enough.